the feeling that you're that close to losing your mind.
Welcome to the Friendly Banter podcast. I'm Cade, Zook, here with my co-host
Brandon Yoder.
We are back again. Today's Wednesday. It's a Wednesday episode. Back on track, finally. We have another episode coming Saturday, so we will officially be back on schedule. Monday, the end of the NBA Finals and the NBA season. Boston won big at home in Game 5 to knock off Dallas and take home the NBA championship. Jalen Brown won Finals MVP over Jason Tatum, even though Jason Tatum led the team in every statistical category, which I think is hilarious. Still think Jalen Brown deserved it, though, and we were right about that. We both had Jalen Brown winning. I don't want to spend too much time on the Finals because we covered so much of it and kind of recapped it on our episode on Monday that we recorded during the game and kind of, kept up with the updates as the game progressed. Do you got any closing remarks, I guess, on the NBA Finals, what we saw go down?
I'm pretty sure I said this before, but last time what I said was you really couldn't poke any holes in this. A championship is a championship, but that's if I was arguing in good faith. If I was arguing in bad faith, I would love to say that they didn't play anyone good, and then Tatum didn't even win Finals MVP. So, if I had to let Boston win a championship, this would kind of be the way I would like for it to happen.
Agreed.
Not memorable.
Agreed. Yes, it wasn't a memorable championship run. A championship is still a championship. They were dominant. They were a great team. They deserved it this year. We'll see what they can do next year. Hopefully we get some better health and maybe some moves in the East. We'll see. But some news went down today, pretty big time news. The Pistons parted ways with Monty Williams after one season, and the Pistons were terrible. And I think Monty Williams was terrible as well. And I think that good on the owner for just cutting his ties. That's a lot of money they owe him. They owe him $65 million still. But he wasn't right to lead that coach. They brought in a new front office and some guys there. So it makes sense. I think that whenever a owner can, or a GM, really, anybody can realize their mistakes early and not let their pride get in the way and correct them, it should be applauded. So I think the Pistons did a good thing here. Awful organization still, doesn't change that, but I do agree with this move. But what were your thoughts when you saw that go through, the Monty Williams firing?
I kind of forgot that they hadn't done it already. It really should have happened mid-season, if I'm being honest, but they, 5-year contract, they weren't going to give him until the end of the year, but yeah, no, it was very clearly not the right fit.
I think it was a 6-year contract, actually.
Oh, yeah. It's 5 years after this year.
Yeah. You still owe him 5 years worth of it.
Yeah, but Monty, every single word that came out of his mouth this entire season was just what are you doing? It was just not good at all. The X's and O's were horrible too, and it was just, I'm very glad, like you said, that they didn't kind of they didn't double down on their mistake. They realized it and are correcting it.
Yeah, the whole way he handled the Jaden Ivey thing, your team is not good. Play Jaden Ivey. You're not going anywhere. Play the young guys. Let them play. That was a fireable offense in itself. And then you look at everything else. Pistons were a really bad team. They weren't bad enough to go on the losing streak that they did go on. They weren't even close to the biggest losing streak of all time level bad that they got. Monty was horrible. He deserved to go. He also, I looked it up to see what the Suns still owed him when he got fired. He was owed $21 million over 3 more years. So obviously that year is gone. So breaking that down to $7 million APY, he's going to collect around $80 million in the next 5 years. Even if he just sits on his butt. I say, Monty Williams, congrats to you, sir. Even though you have coached horrifically and deserve the firing, you are playing chess, not checkers. And congratulations to you.
That's why I never feel bad when a coach gets fired, because it's like they're still getting
Never.
paid. Now they're just getting paid to not work. So they could go find another job elsewhere.
And it's not like they're not collecting unemployment, a little bit of money. No, they're collecting millions. Like, they will be okay. I promise they'll be okay. Especially when you do a horrible job and actually deserve to get fired, like Monty did. But nothing else really to be said. I know the Pistons are looking at James Borrego, who is involved in every single job now. You know any other guys that they're looking at? I know. Are they looking at Sam Cassell as well?
I thought you said the Lakers were going after Cassell.
He was an option. I don't think he is really in the running anymore, but I could be wrong.
Okay. In that case, I haven't heard anything about who the Pistons are looking at.
Yeah, I know for 100% fact the Pistons are very open to Borrego.
Mm-hmm.
That is basically confirmed at this point. We'll see what happens. They want to have a coach. I saw before. My I can't think of the word. What is where all the summer league? I don't know why I couldn't think of it. Summer league. They want to get a coach in before the summer league. So we'll see. We'll see who they go. I have a feeling that it's not going to be James Borrego, but we will see. But moving on to some information has come out for the Cavs is Borrego is kind of the leading candidate right now, and it's basically a two-person race at this point between Kenny Atkinson.
Yeah, and James Borrego. So
yeah, those two.
honestly, those are the two favorites from the start. So
Agreed.
Not exactly surprised that it's those two, but Chris Fedor, the Cavs reporter, came out and said that he gets the impression that Borrego is leading between the two of them. He did also say they want to get a couple more interviews in, which, I mean, do your due diligence, but also don't wait too long and let the guy sign somewhere else. So,
Agreed.
Yeah. So, I don't hate them interviewing more guys, but just pull the trigger, get Borrego, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, and I think he also was talking about Donovan Mitchell has been heavily involved and talking to teammates. I don't know how many more signs you need that Donovan will be re-signing. I think it's a matter of when, not if, that extension drops.
Yeah. Also, the biggest reason he hasn't signed just yet is because he was in Italy recently, and right now, he's on his way back to Ohio. So maybe it happens sometime soon, but I mean, you can't sign a contract while you're out of the country. So
I don't think you can sign a contract until July. I looked into it a little bit. So NBA teams can re-sign their upcoming free agents. So let's say Jarrett Allen's a free agent this summer. The Cavs could extend him or sign him to a new contract now. But Donovan is still under contract for next year, so he can't actually sign until, I think, July. However, he can verbally agree if, I think there's a good chance we hear news before that about it, but that is kind of a technicality there. But I think Borrego does get it. I think some of it is the reason that they might have not moved for Borrego is either Borrego has told them that the Cavs is his number one job left, or they're very confident that the Lakers are hiring JJ Redick and Borrego's not really a candidate there anymore. I would say that's probably, if they were worried about losing Borrego, I would feel like maybe they would have made a move to sign him. So kind of all the reads we're getting is it's going to be Redick to the Lakers and Borrego to the Cavs. But you really never know with the Lakers. I would honestly not be shocked if they just come out of the blue and hire somebody that we didn't even know was involved in the Lakers race. It'd be just classic LA. I could definitely see that happening. But on the topic of Cavs coaches, I saw some interesting comments on Twitter after the finals. from the Cavs' former coach, JB Bickerstaff. Kind of took a shot at Jarrett Allen. The exact quote is, "This is the guy that was taking shots in his ribs so that he could go out and play, right? He was playing through pain. He wasn't complaining. He was still playing 40-plus minutes trying to go out and get it done." And he was referring to Luka Doncic here. If you've been living, not keeping up with the Cavs, Jarrett Allen had a rib injury, did not play. When did he sit out? Was it game 5 or game 4 of the first round?
I want to say it was 5, 6, and 7 of
I
the
kind of
first
think
round,
that
and
is
then all of the
correct
second
too.
round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then a report came out after the Cavs finally got eliminated, basically saying that there's people within the organization that were not happy with Jarrett Allen not deciding to play. And then JB comes out and says that. I think that's pretty good evidence who was upset about that.
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell also posted on his Instagram story a picture of him and Jarrett Allen after that. So I think that also confirms it, and also confirms that Donovan Mitchell did not like JB Bickerstaff. If your star player doesn't like the coach, he's done. I also want to let JB Bickerstaff know that you could have had Jarrett Allen. It would have not mattered. You were not a good coach for the team currently. You just weren't. Maybe you can go coach the Pistons, buddy. Actually, it might be
Yeah.
a decent fit, but yeah, there was a lot of fire to that smoke.
Yeah, definitely. I will say the report you were talking about, it did specifically say there was front office members that were upset with Jarrett, but I mean, if this isn't also indication that JB was also upset with Jarrett, then I don't know what is.
Oh, Jarrett was, or JB was upset. I can 100% tell you that.
Yeah. Also, out of all the players, it sounded like Jarrett was the most upset with JB as well. So, mutual. Neither of them like each other.
It was a mess, man. It was a mess.
Yeah.
It was past its time for sure. But the Lakers, I've also seen there's some clown on Twitter reporting that JJ Redick is confirmed to be the next Lakers coach, and that the Lakers went Borrego as their top assistant. And the whole time I'm thinking, like, he's not taking an assistant job when he's got a head coaching job most likely available to him. And now that the Pistons would be interested too, there's no way he doesn't land one of those jobs. Borrego to LA is not happening unless it's in a head coaching role. Even then, I think Brian Windhorst said that he thinks that Borrego would prefer the Cavs job over the Lakers job, correct?
I think so, yeah.
I think it was
I think I
Windy
did
who
see
said that, which I trust Windy. I think he's pretty good. But there's some rumblings going around that the team's desired staff would be go get JJ Redick and then combine it with kind of a loaded assistant coaching room. And honestly, it all seems like delusion to me, but they kind of want Scott Brooks, a former Lakers staffer, Greg St. Jean. I don't even know who that one is. I'm not going to lie. Rajon Rondo as well. And then Sam Cassell, who's currently an assistant with Boston, that they would want to become a Lakers assistant. Probably not going to happen. And then they'd also want Jared Dudley. I hear Jared Dudley, from everything I saw, is absolutely loved in Dallas, and they wouldn't let him go. So I think it's kind of a pipe dream from LA, and they're kind of, they're fumbling this, man. I don't like what LA's been doing, but I guess let him LA it, because that's basically all they've done is mess things up. If LeBron didn't gift them his talents, they would still be a horrible team. I'm 100% confident in that.
Yeah, they're going to do what they're going to do. They're going to chase names. And it's like, yeah, we got former head coach Scott Brooks, former players all over the place, especially former Lakers. Rondo and Dudley both played for the Lakers. I don't know if Cassell did. That was a long time
I'm
ago.
not sure.
But yeah, it's the Lakers. They go after names. I mean, hey, it did give them a championship a few years ago, but
It did.
it's going to be a little while until their next one, I'll say.
I mean, honestly, I don't know if firing Frank Vogel was the right decision. I I know Darvin Ham also wasn't a good coach. But like that roster is so flawed, and you're holding your head coach to championship or bust level. Your roster is not good. Like the best coach in the world can only take, your roster so far. That roster is just not championship level. It isn't.
Yeah.
It's a lot of has-beens for a while, and then they kind of transition. They're trying new guys out, and they can't find without LeBron and Anthony Davis, you take off their names off the team. That team has literally zero identity the past longer than 5 years, post-Kobe, honestly. It's brutal. I think they're honestly one of the worst franchises in the NBA right now.
I'd have to agree with that.
I mean, the Russell Westbrook trade, it gets talked about a lot, but I really don't think it gets talked about enough. How do you expect either of Frank Vogel or Darvin Ham to succeed with that?
Yeah, no, that was insane. It was Kuzma, it was KCP, first round pick. Did they send out? There's one other player in that trade, I want to say.
There might have been. I don't know. I think those are the two big ones, though.
Yeah. Well, they also sent out first round pick in that as well. They sent out a first rounder in that trade.
horrible trade.
Oh man, it was
everyone
disaster.
saw it coming. I still thought Russ had some something left in the tank, but I knew for a fact pairing him with LeBron James was not going to work. He can't shoot. It isn't going to work.
The vision was that you would put the ball in Russ's hands a lot, and that way it would lighten LeBron's workload. But Russ was so bad that you couldn't give him the ball when LeBron was out there. It had to be in LeBron's hands. And then once LeBron's got it, it's like, okay, great. Now we got Russell Westbrook spotting up. It was just a disaster.
It was bad. And then they waited way too long to move on from it. And, rough, man. Rough.
Yeah.
I did hear some reports that the Lakers are interested in adding a center to pair next to Anthony Davis so that Anthony Davis can run the four, which I don't hate. I kind of am intrigued by that. But my question is who are you going to get as your starting center in this market?
Yeah, no, there's not many good options.
Like Jarrett Allen is your best option.
Yeah, and even then, I don't think he's getting traded anymore.
Yeah, it's getting less and less likely that he's getting traded, which I still don't agree with. But it is what it is. It doesn't look like, is Valanciunas going to be your best option? Like Clint Capella, maybe?
Honestly, JV or Valanciunas. Valanciunas or Clint Capella might be your best option at center.
Your only option. There's nothing out there.
Yeah. I will say, I kind of disagree on moving AD back to the 4. Because, he was healthy this past season. It's not kind of what is the reasoning for moving it back to power forward? Because all it's going to do is clog up the paint. Health is not really that big of a concern anymore with Anthony Davis. It's...
I don't know, man.
Yeah. And then you're going to put LeBron on the perimeter when he can't guard on the perimeter anymore. Or at least he's not going to in the regular season.
Yeah, I don't think it would really work.
Yeah.
It's intriguing to think about getting an actual good 5 next to AD. But I don't really see it working, especially with D'Angelo Russell. You need some perimeter dogs on the defensive side of the ball. Anyways, regardless of if they get a center or not. But just having... Clint Capella is not the guy he was with Houston, so you're not getting a great rim protector, and Valanciunas isn't really that guy either. So I don't see the upside to it. I just think you're again basically covering your eyes and throwing your 100th dart at the dartboard, and they've all missed. And this one will miss. It'll miss again.
Yeah.
I guess we'll move on to a little NBA draft for all the viewers out there. Viewers and listeners, we'll cover a little bit about what we know about the NBA draft. So, Brandon, what do you know about the NBA draft?
It's really bad at the top. there's some good depth to it, or at least decent depth to it, but there's like basically no star potential at the top of it. Yeah, it's not very interesting. We're at the point where the Hawks are looking at getting a rim protecting center as their first overall pick, which, I mean, like, all right, if it helps their defense, then I'm not against it. At the same time, then you got to trade, the two centers that are already on the roster. And I'm going to be honest, everyone else on the Hawks roster is just mediocre at best. Like, Hunter's kind of disappointing. He's supposed to be like your big defensive wing.
Though. You can't hate on Bogdanovich.
Right. Yeah, no, his name popped in my head, and I said, no, he's not mediocre. Bogdanovich is good. They're going to trade one of the guards this offseason as well. Jalen Johnson was actually pretty good for them this past year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an exciting piece. Being said, he did miss like half the year, so it's less exciting. But so there's something there. But
a Kongwu disappointing as well. They had like a lot of like young guys that you're like, oh, like I could see this team becoming something, and then they went to the Eastern Conference Finals, and you're like, wow, this team actually has a great potential with Trae Young, and then it all fell apart. From top to bottom.
Sadiq Bey was just whatever as well. Every single guy they brought in to be a defensive piece for them has just not been. They've been nothing more than like a slight positive defensively. None of them are really having like a defensive impact to turn this roster around. So if, for example, Klingon is that guy, then perfect, I guess. But the roster needs some pretty heavy overhaul.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like they might be starting out at center as far as like where they're fixing it first.
And they should get a good haul for Dejounte or Trae.
Yeah.
But I think, when you look at the draft, from what I've been seeing is the Hawks are interested in Donovan Klingon as well as Zachary Rizaje. I hope I didn't butcher that name, but I think it's close. And then Alex Sarr has kind of been like the projected guy there. But they actually have not been able to get him in for a workout. And so, I've been seeing like, don't be surprised if Klingon goes one. But that's kind of the three names I've been hearing.
Yeah.
I'd probably lean Alex Sarr if I'm the Hawks. But it's just, to put it in context, some things that I've heard about this draft, this is from NBA executives, is that this draft, the number one pick is worth about what the number 8 to number 10 pick would be last year. That Derek Lively would go number 1 this year. That this is the worst, or one of the 3 worst classes in the past 25 years. And that basically the first pick in the draft would net you a return of like a Lou Dort caliber player. You wouldn't even be getting a guy like at Derek White's level for the first overall pick in the draft. Not just a round one, no, the first overall pick. That is really bad. There's no way it can be worse than Anthony Bennett, but it's still bad.
Yeah, that's not great.
It's not a great draft, but I do want to talk a little bit about the Hawks here. If you are the GM of the Hawks, what's your first move? And I think it's going to be having to start with, let's say we don't know a whole lot about the draft. So let's say they draft Alex Sarr. They get their center of the future. What is your next move as GM?
I think I'm moving on from Dejounte and trying to see what I can get in return. I also would really like for them to kind of amp up the pace as well. Again, Trae Young, it's like the 7 seconds or less mold as a player. Nash, Halliburton, hopefully Garland here next year. We'll see.
Hopefully.
But they do need to play with a little bit more pace to get things moving more on offense. I have no problem with the Trae-centric offense. You just have to do it right. And I think a 7 seconds or less offense is kind of the way to do it right. And Atlanta has been kind of slow the past few years. Not like slow, but they're not at the top of the league in pace. So that'll create, more rim attempts and stuff like that. And then as far as kind of like defense, I don't know exactly how you fix it.
It's going to be hard to fix because DeJounte Murray, That's the one thing I'll say I disagree with you is that they only have slightly plus defenders. I do think Dejounte Murray's a really good defender.
I think he was. I'm not sure what he is. I'm not sure if he's that guy now, but
He might not be, but I know that
yeah.
I've seen several NBA players like talk on podcasts and like in their top 5 defenders, a lot of them have Dejounte Murray. They don't include bigs because
They're
it's
players.
kind
They
of
only
just
care about the
blocking
guy guarding them
shots.
one-on-one.
Like, yeah. It's more perimeter defense. But so it's hard for me because I think deep down in my heart, if I'm the Hawks GM, reluctantly, I think I deal both Murray and Trae Young. Because in my opinion, I don't think you can build around either one of them as a cornerstone and win a ring. I would lean sticking with Trae Young a little more, but at the same time, actually, I don't know. Everything I've been hearing is Trae Young might not net a return bigger than Dejounte Murray, which is crazy in my opinion.
I would completely disagree with that.
You disagree with me or with that?
The take, no.
You'd rather have
Trae Young is a lot more valuable.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think. I think it's ridiculous. I think there's reports coming out that Darius Garland is valued higher by NBA teams than Trae Young. I also think that is completely false.
Yeah, and I don't
Trae
agree
Young
with that
didn't
either.
learn, like, just forget how to play basketball. I don't get where this narrative has come from that the Hawks' problems are Trae Young. No, it's not Trae Young. Like, is he a
Yeah.
part of the problem? Yes, he cannot defend. But when you got a guy that talented, that skilled, that good on offense, it is your job as a GM to build a roster around that. If you
Mhm.
can't do it, that comes back on you. It's not on Trae Young. You knew what you were getting when you drafted him. He's been exactly that, plus some in the NBA. Hawks are a dumpster fire, man. I think
It's bad.
I think the first 2 moves I make is, let's just roll with they're only going to trade one because that seems what, is like 99% chance of happening. I think I
Mhm.
trade Dejounte Murray, and then 5 seconds after I trade Dejounte Murray, I trade Clint Capella. And then 5 seconds after I trade Clint Capella, I trade DeAndre Hunter. And then
Yeah,
I
I think
field
those are.
offers for a Kongwu.
I like that as well. I guess Bogdanovich in the starting lineup with Trae. I like
Yeah.
that. I think Jalen Johnson is a pretty core piece of this roster. He was just amazing this past year.
I think Sadiq Bey can play too. In a
Sadiq Bey,
different, in a less important role. But I do think he has at least a regular season, regular spot on the team.
Yeah. Sadiq, you definitely have to kind of limit his role. But in a limited role, he will be awesome. Also, what happened to AJ Griffin? Like, he hardly played all year.
Yeah, I don't really know. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Didn't watch a whole lot of Hawks games.
Me neither. Do you know
Not gonna lie.
Dylan Windler played 6 games for him?
I didn't. I'm surprised he actually played 6 games for anybody.
I was going to say 6 NBA games. That's like
I'm
a
not
career
even
high
talking
for
about
him.
G League games. I'm talking just 6 basketball games in a whole entire calendar year. Guy can't stay healthy to save his life.
Oh, man.
Hopefully he gets it going, though. I always liked him since we drafted him. It's unfortunate that it didn't work out with Cleveland, but I don't want to see anyone have their career ended with, injuries or not able to get off the ground because they just can't stay healthy. That's not fun for anybody involved. But you know what else is not fun? Being an Atlanta Hawks fan. I feel bad for you guys. You have no direction. You do have, it's not all doom and gloom because you have 2 really talented guards that will net a good return.
Mm-hmm.
But man, if Trae Young and Dejounte Murray didn't work out, then I don't know if you're going to be able to pair Trae Young with anyone and make it work.
I mean, the idea with the Dejounte pairings more so was that it's going to help with kind of the minutes where Trae isn't on the floor, and I do agree with kind of that aspect of it, but I don't exactly know if Dejounte is kind of the guy for that. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't really hate their kind of process and how they've done things, but I just don't think they have the right guys for it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where would you like to see, what would be your top 3, landing spots for Dejounte Murray? I'll give my 3. I think the first is Los Angeles, the Lakers. LeBron's my favorite player of all time. I'm literally grew up 20 minutes from my house. want to see him succeed, and I just think it'd be fun to add Dejounte Murray there.
Yeah.
Just because it's already chaos, and then just add another, big name there, and it'd just be fun as a basketball fan.
Yeah.
I would be also interested to see him go to San Antonio, go back to San Antonio, actually. They need a guard bad, and I want to see Wemby have some sort of help and see what he can really, do. If they would decide to move Trae Young, I think the Spurs are crazy that they don't want Trae Young. I'd be all over that. That is literally Wemby and Trae Young. I don't know if I can name a better big man to pair with Trae Young than Wemby. I think it makes too much sense, but the Spurs aren't interested for whatever reason. Don't really get why. For the next spot, Dejounte Murray. I really have two. I don't know if I can think of a third one. You give your three. I'm going to try to think of a third one here real quick.
All right. First kind of pick for Dejounte, I'm going to say the Pelicans.
There it is. That's my third. I love that. That's actually
I'm going to go. Yeah, I'm going to go Pelicans on that. Kind of get a little bit of the Lonzo Ball action back. But with a guy that has more, can do more with the ball in his hands and stuff like that. Brooklyn also just really needs a point guard as well.
They do.
If they do kind of want to build more on that defensive identity, that would also be really cool. Kind of a pairing defensively of Dejounte, Mikal Bridges, and Nick Claxton, pending, assuming he resigns.
I missed kind of one. That could be a Lakers guy. Claxton. Oh yeah, I forgot about him being a free agent.
Yeah, I kind of forgot he existed too for a while. But yeah, if they can pair kind of those three together, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Orlando also kind of needs a point guard. That being said, I would prefer one that's more of a shooter.
Yeah, they need shooting so bad, man.
Yeah, especially so from the guard spot because their front court's kind of a little bit loaded. So, they need some shooting, like guards that can shoot threes. That's the biggest skill they have.
Could he work with Houston?
I'm gonna say no.
Who's their everyday point guard?
VanVleet.
Oh, Fred VanVleet. Yeah.
Not a. They got him. They got obviously Jalen Green, but then they have Ahmed Thompson, who they just drafted.
Yeah. I'm a fan.
Third pick.
I like him.
Yeah.
And you got Şengün, and he's the ball in his hands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't really like Houston.
Yeah, Houston's not a good fit there. Not seeing a whole lot of other options. Maybe like Phoenix, if they...
Not
Phoenix,
happening.
you would have to move off Bradley Beal for that to happen, and that's just not possible.
I mean, maybe you could pair him with something and send him to I don't know if the Suns have their pick this year or not. Because of the stipend rule, you never know which year they have the pick or not. If they do have their pick, they could draft a guy and then pair him and Beal and send them back to Washington or something. It's like a salary dump off.
I think Washington.
I don't think it happens.
Yeah, I think Washington could be interesting. Because right now they just have Monte Morris as their point guard. Or no, is it Tyus?
It's this.
Never mind. Yeah, not Monte Morris.
Who I like. Is Tyus free agent?
Let's find out right here. I got my high level backup point guards mixed up between Monte and Tyus. Yeah, Tyus Jones is a free agent this offseason. So if he goes elsewhere, they're definitely going to be in need of a point guard. Yeah, Dejounte could kind of be that guy for them.
That'd be horrible, though. I'd hate it.
I mean, they need a point guard.
He would not want to go there, man.
I mean, I don't like anything on the Washington roster, but
Jordan Poole makes me just want to throw up watching him play basketball. He's horrible.
He's
so
literally
bad.
Poole is literally the epitome of every boomer stereotype ever.
So true.
Oh, he just wants his own team now. He's just gonna chuck up shots and not play defense and not pass, do nothing.
If Jordan Poole was actually as good as he thinks he was, he would have been signed to Supermax, man. He did get paid, though. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I don't know what Golden State was thinking. One spot that actually I thought about that could be intriguing is Dejounte to Golden State. Especially if they move off of Clay. No, if they move off of Clay. I'm not even thinking about Chris Paul right now.
You're gonna have all three of Chris Paul, Dejounte, and Steph.
Well, I kind of feel like Chris Paul's not going to be there regardless next year, but I don't know.
It's going to be like a salary dump or something.
But I just kind of got that feeling that it was going to be like we're going to look to trade him. If not, we'll use him this year. But that's about the extent of it.
Actually, it does say 5 is non-guaranteed for Chris Paul, so they could get rid of him if they wanted to.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that could work.
Yeah.
If they move on from Clay, which I kind of think is going to happen.
I have no idea what's going to happen with Clay.
It's weird because of like the history there. Will they like...
Yeah.
I feel like Clay's always been kind of the odd man out between like the core three.
Mm-hmm.
If it's going to happen, it's going to happen this offseason, and it's going to be Clay.
Yeah. Steph's your best on offense. Trae's your best on defense, and Clay isn't the best at anything on that team. So
especially now, he's not the same defender, and his shooting kind of dropped off weirdly too. I don't really know what happened there.
Yeah,
obviously he's still a great shooter, but it just wasn't the Clay that we're used to. I have no problem with. Clay's probably my least favorite player in the NBA. I want to make that clear.
I will say I've been seeing a whole bunch of Clay to Orlando, and I think that's a very good fit.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Clay to the Lakers as well, because they always mock Clay to the Lakers anytime there's any talk of movement, which is obviously a good fit.
Yeah.
You know, a guy like Clay next to LeBron is interesting, to say the least. Yeah, I don't really know where Dejounte is going to go. There's honestly a lot of guys that could use his services.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think the Lakers are going to be... If they're counting to get Dejounte Murray, I think they better just not, because they don't got the assets that some other teams have. But I'm going to move on to some other offseason.
I need to turn my light on.
Okay.
It's really so dark.
Do it. Well, I'll just cut this entire part out right here.
I wanted to do it earlier, but I didn't think about it. I wanted to do it earlier, but I couldn't get up at that point. So I just kind of put it off, and then it just kept getting darker. So,
you ready to resume?
Yes.
Okay. Also saw some news about the 76ers being interested in Miles Bridges. I think it would kind of be like if they miss out on a Jimmy Butler trade or landing Paul George in free agency, which I'm a fan of Miles Bridges, but man, I don't know if I'm a fan of Miles Bridges, the player. Actually, let me make that extremely clear. Let me make that clear. Man. I don't know if his talent level is worth the baggage that he brings on. If you can get him at a deal because of it, then maybe the 76ers take him. It's also the NBA. I don't know if he's going to get it. He might just get paid regardless.
Yeah. I personally, I don't know. I don't think Bridges kind of fits that well with them. Obviously, though, Embiid does do a lot of stuff on the perimeter, honestly. So that does kind of open up the paint. Kind of imagining Embiid kind of handling the ball up top, and then Bridges kind of like back cuts this guy or runs off a screen and off a down screen and goes to the basket or something. In that case, that'd be really cool. Or like a DH. Actually, never mind. I'm talking myself into it immediately. A DHO with Miles Bridges and Embiid. That's kind of nasty.
Explain that to anyone that doesn't know what you just said.
Dribble handoff. It's when the center has the ball up at the top, out on the perimeter somewhere, and then the perimeter player comes up, grabs the ball off of handoff, and then just goes right to the rim or something. So
yeah,
it's kind of it works. It operates kind of like a almost like a pick and roll, but not quite. It helps get the defense moving a little bit more, gets them out of position a little bit easier. It helps guys kind of turn the corner and get to the rim. In a standard pick and roll, it's a lot easier to take a three off it, but on a DHO, a lot of the time, the DHO a lot of the time it's going to the rim, but obviously you can, when you do have a sharpshooter doing it, you can have them take a three off the DHO, but a lot of times it's going to the basket. So, yeah.
Uh,
I'm talking myself into Bridges.
so like if you're the 76ers GM, what would kind of rank those three guys in terms of like the move you would make? Because for me, Jimmy's last, I think.
I'm gonna say obviously Paul George first.
Agreed. Easily.
Depends on how much baggage there is with Jimmy coming back.
Which I think if he
Also is-
came back, that would be 100% cleared up. I don't think that'd be something to worry about.
Is Tobias Harris a free agent? I kind of
I'm
think
not
he
sure.
is.
He might be.
Let's see here. Tobias Harris. Yeah, free agent. Okay. So at that point, they wouldn't be picking Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler. Yeah. So yeah, with Tobias Harris gone, yeah, no, I think Jimmy probably second, and then Bridges third, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Mostly because the
like,
off-court stuff with Bridges.
Yeah, which I get for
yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
I don't think Jimmy Butler's the caliber of player that he once was, and I feel like whatever you give up for Jimmy Butler is going to be too much in hindsight.
It's possible.
And I don't really think
also,
Jimmy's going to get dealt.
Yeah. Also, Miami is just, they always charge way too much in trades. So,
Yeah, that's the only reason why I would have Jimmy 3. If they were all free agents, obviously Jimmy would be 2. I think Miles Bridges comes with less risk. Kind of.
Okay, yeah, never mind.
Kind of.
Well, yeah, I mean, also, I guess kind of looking at a pure value perspective then I guess Bridges would move into 2 because you don't have to give anything up for him.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Jimmy, you do. So, never mind. Paul George 1, Bridges 2, Jimmy 3.
Yeah, if I'm the Cavs and I move on from Jarrett Allen, I am all over Tobias Harris.
I think I want to keep Jarrett Allen hearing that.
Really?
Honestly, like, in general.
Me and you talked. You said you like Tobias Harris.
I guess. Yeah, he's not bad, but
I'm a Tobias Harris guy.
The pendulum is swinging the other way for me. I'm back on the kind of keep Jarrett Allen.
Oh boy.
I don't like the returns that are available for Allen.
Really?
There's just nothing that's been like interesting, honestly.
So I think you could get Brandon Ingram from. I don't think you could get it straight up, but I do think you could get Brandon Ingram and you throw in like Levert and Niang, and then you probably a pick. I think you could get it done.
Possible.
I think there's a path.
If that's the case, you can talk me into that. But assuming Ingram is not on the table, I'd just be okay with just keeping Allen. In that case, my off-season plans would be, Borrego first, keep Allen, obviously re-sign Donovan, and then
move Levert.
Yes, Levert and Niang need to not be on the team, and that's kind of the biggest roster moves I think you need to make.
I would love getting a wing to move Strus to the bench.
Me too, but
it might not be realistic though.
Yeah, no, it's not realistic at this point. Honestly, just keep. I would keep the starting 5 the way it is, but with a couple adjustments. Number 1, different coach, obviously, and then number 2, give Strus less usage. The core 4 in 2023, the reason they were so good together was because the 5th guy was always like a low usage guy, like a Coro and stuff. So you always had the ball in the hands of the best players. And then, but this past year, they just like, hey, Miami did this cool stuff with Strus. They really did the DHOs. Let's just do this like every single time.
JB Bickerstaff moment.
Yeah, JB Bickerstaff moment, thinking the grass is greener on the other side, so he wants to bring that over here. Yeah, no, definitely. If you can limit Strus to just like a spot up role for the majority of the time, then I do think you can still make that starting 5 work. And then at that point, then you get the amazing bench pairings of Darius and Mobley, and then Donovan and Allen. That way, you're playing actual good basketball for literally the entire game.
Yeah,
and I do think that is a pretty good recipe for success. And it's the reason I was so high on the team coming into this year. It could, I honestly think it just needs a few tweaks, and then you can go right back to it. And
Yeah.
again, those tweaks, 7 seconds offense with not JB at the helm. Get rid
That's the
of
big one.
Karis LeVert and get rid of Max. And not Max. Get rid of
Yeah,
Niang, too.
get him out. Get the minivan out of here.
Yeah. At that point, your
I can
bench
see
looks
that.
like... Yeah. At that point, your bench, as far as players that are actually going to play, are going to be, Dean Wade, Isaac Okoro, and
Probably Craig Porter
Sam Merrill.
Jr.
No, actually, you don't need that. Sam Merrill's going to play.
He's going to play in the regular season.
Guard. It's in that bench unit. You're going to want Okoro being the shooting guard next to him. And then when Donovan's going to be out there as a lead guard, Merrill will be the guy next to him. I don't want Merrill to be playing next to Darius. The defense is just not there. But when it is Donovan out there, I do love the idea of having Merrill next to him. And then at small forward, you can just cover it with Strus, and then with the leftover Okoro minutes. If you split like Okoro's minutes 50-50, he can play half of them at shooting guard and half of them at small forward. And then at that point, half of the Okoro minutes plus the Strus minutes should be enough at small forward.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Obviously, would like some depth, maybe another forward in there, but
Kelly Oubre?
That'd be an option. Thinking a little bit more, maybe defense first. Maybe it's like a power forward, and then you can move Wade kind of up a little bit. But
yeah,
I don't know. Either way,
you could go.
Yeah, either way, the big thing is get LeVert and Niang out of there.
Yes, minivan.
Put in a coach. Yeah, put in a coach that's gonna play. It's gonna play up tempo. And honestly, you can fix this team. Just needs a few tweaks.
Agreed.
Yeah.
One thing that I've with the Borrego signing gaining some traction, I think there's some the Pelicans don't love Brandon Ingram, and so for me it's like if we bring in Borrego, how much of the Pelicans don't love Brandon Ingram was Borrego too? Like that's one thing that I've definitely wondered about, where I don't know if we would even go towards that route. But I guess we won't really ever know unless we actually trade for him.
Yeah. If there's a bad relationship between the two of them, then I don't see bringing over both of them. I can see one and not the other.
Yeah, and I'd pick Borrego over Ingram. I don't think Ingram's that level player where you're like, I'm taking him over the coach.
Me too. Plus, I mean, right now, I'm already kind of questioning it. I don't know if he's even good.
It's more like the Ingram thing is more like kind of like intriguing than like, we got to do this right now. Brandon Ingram is the answer to this team. Like, I don't know if I'm that high on Brandon Ingram, but I do think it's intriguing. But we'll definitely keep covering. Yeah. Final remarks.
There's definitely, as far as an Ingram trade, there's definitely a world where it works out awesome, and another one where it's like
it's just
horrible.
Horrible.
Regret everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and you threw away a couple years. I 100% see both ways, but I don't know. I think it's something you might want to explore. At least do your research on, but you might not want to make that move. On to the last, we got one more little rumbling going on before free agency. Is that I heard a report that OG Anunoby is not happy with what the Knicks have been offering him, and he will test free agency. If this is true, the Knicks fumbled.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Probably worth the max.
I'm going to say no, but at the same point,
so. He'll get the max though.
There's not enough offensive value there for it, but the thing is,
the Knicks were like
the Knicks were like 20-3 with him there. So you gotta. It's such a good fit.
He's huge for them. That's a great trade.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you gave up a good amount. You can't just let that walk.
Yeah, you gotta overpay to keep him. I don't think he's worth a max, but
he'll get close, man.
Yeah, you gotta just bite the bullet, pay the money just to keep him, just because it makes your team that much better.
Agreed.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Like I said, this free agency might not be like one of the super star-studded ones, but I still think it has potential to be very, very interesting and a lot of like team building signings rather than team shakeups.
Yeah.
which I'm kind of a bigger fan of. I think it's more intriguing to look into like your good role players. Like that almost interests me more than the stars switching teams. Although Paul George of the 76ers would really, really be exciting. I cannot lie. But we'll see what happens. Free agency will be here before we know it.
Hmm.
We might do like a special the day after. Well, I guess the day free agency opens, if it doesn't fall on a Wednesday or Saturday, just because it's always crazy. We'll see what happens there. But let us know if that'd be something that interests you, because I think it would be quite the fun episode.
It'd be interesting for us. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna end this off on a little more lighthearted of topics. I seen more of the world champions debate on X or Twitter today. Obviously, we weren't podcasting when this first came around, which I think it came about the week of my honeymoon, actually. So like the end of August, September. I think it's a stupid debate. Noah Lyles, basically, he's a USA athlete. He said that NBA champions call themselves world champions, and they're not world champions. Yeah, they are. They are. They would pound any professional team in the world, and it wouldn't even be close. However, I have really gotten into soccer this past year. Big Real Madrid fan, Jude Bellingham fan. And I do realize one thing is like they have the Champions League, which is like the best teams from Europe. So like soccer works where you have a couple leagues in Europe, and your biggest leagues are the German league, La Liga, which is Spain, Bundesliga is Germany, Premier League is English football, and then my mind's blanking on the other one. Serie A or whatever is the Italian league, and then they have the French league, which is like a little bit step down. But those are like your top 5 leagues, and they all have like their own like league winner of their countries, but then they get together based off like certain qualifications of what teams make it for the UEFA Champions League. And it's for like the best team in Europe. So Real Madrid won that this year. They're the best team in Europe. But they always say the best team in Europe. They never say the best team in football or the best team in soccer, when everybody knows that is the best professional club that year. And so I guess I do see his point from that standpoint, is like technically they're not. Why do they call themselves their name? But I also see the American point of view where it's like they're the best team in the world. They are the world champions. I just thought it was interesting that it came up again.
I will also say, so obviously with the European teams, they do play outside of that league. They do play games against other teams and other continents. Is that right?
I don't know. I know Real Madrid as a team.
I was going to say,
Luka
'cause if they're
Doncic
playing,
actually played on Real Madrid.
I mean, obviously there's the World Cup then where they got Brazil and stuff like that. So in that case, yeah, they are playing teams from other continents and stuff. So in that specific tournament, yeah, it would be the best team in Europe. But I mean, in the United States, like there's no NBA team that's playing teams from other countries, except for like a couple games in preseason. But those seriously don't matter in the slightest.
Canada, Toronto, the Raptors would like word, but I get your point. I'm just being dumb.
Yeah, whatever. Anyhow, because it's not that other countries aren't competing in this in the NBA.
They're not
it's
good
not
enough.
That. It's the fact that they're not even playing at all. So,
because they're not good enough. Like that is why.
Exactly. Yeah. So
I see both points of it.
Yeah, I have no problem with an NBA team or MLB, maybe not MLB, possibly MLB. I have no problem with an NBA team calling themselves world champion.
I do think a lot of it is like in America, like soccer is just not what the NBA is and what the MLB is and what the NFL is. But I do think that soccer will pass up the MLB at some point in our lifetime. However, with like the NBA has like America's been so far ahead in basketball that like the Olympics and stuff and the FIBA World Cup or whatever just doesn't really matter that much to Americans. Like it does, but not really. Wherein like your pro career with your professional team matters so much more, and everyone cares about that so much more because people like competition, and there isn't competition in with the national teams in basketball. However, in soccer, it is so much different. And so when you look at like how other people in the world view sports, I see where they're coming from because soccer is the sport everywhere else. And in soccer, the World Cup is way more important than professional football
Yeah.
or professional basketball or professional soccer. Sorry.
It's just a difference in priorities. If the United States cared about soccer like they do football, they would absolutely be the best soccer team in the world. Look,
We'd be
it's
up
more of a
there. We'd be
cultural
up
thing.
there.
You're gonna have more athletes in the States that are putting soccer as a priority.
Yes, me
Like, for
and
example-
my buddy from South Korea, he's my best man at my wedding. We have argued. He's the reason I got into soccer. We have argued about this for hours and hours and hours.
I just want to
But
bring up one thing.
I agree with you. I
We
think we would
didn't-
be top 3 at least.
A week or two ago.
Are you gonna go cricket here?
Yes, that's exactly where I was going with this. There was a baseball video going around. Some cricket fan from overseas
Saw the same
quoted
video.
it. It was like, they were like, baseball fans would lose their minds if the American mind could not comprehend like the average cricket game. And then it was just baseball fans and cricket fans just fighting back and forth about which sport
so
is
crazy.
better. And then the United States just goes out and beats Pakistan in cricket, which is like probably one of the biggest upsets in the not the history of cricket, possibly the history of cricket. It was a huge, massive upset, and the timing of it was just hilarious because it like I didn't even know we had a cricket team.
Me either.
And then now we just went out and beat like the reigning world champions or something like that.
Didn't beat India though, but we'll get there.
Who cares? It's cricket.
I don't really care either. No, I do think like it does come down to the amount of athletes you have. If we took soccer as serious, where your LeBron Jameses, your Miles Garrett's, your Josh Allen's, your Tyreek Hills are playing soccer, it would probably look a lot different. But there's all your top athletes are going to the top 2 sports, which is basketball and football. And we might not be the best in soccer, but I do think we would be really, really high. And if we did stick with it throughout the history, like all the other countries have, we probably would be the best. But yeah, I do see both sides of it. I think it's a fun little debate. Originally, I thought he was really dumb, and then at the time of when he first said that to when it resurfaced, now I've gotten into soccer, so I can kind of like see both sides. But I just thought it was an interesting tidbit. So I wanted to go over a little bit. Just last segment here is what were kind of your favorite like parts of this past NBA season. I'll give you a little bit to think about it. I got mine already, so probably I'm gonna go with my top 5. No order. So one would be that the T-Wolves, and especially like Anthony Edwards having his coming out party in these playoffs and then beating the Nuggets. I thought it was awesome. People talked about the Nuggets like they're some dynasty. They can't be beaten. And I was like, they're good, but they're not that good. They aren't dynasty good. And so I thought it was just kind of nice to see that kind of come back down to earth. And like Jokic getting crazily overrated, like in all-time conversations, has been just wild. I saw the Barstool Sports on TikTok does like this series where they're like, be quiet until you see a player better than this player. And it's like Shaq and Nikola Jokic comes up and they're like, I'm like, come on, let's stop, guys. Let's stop the rhetoric. This is getting wild. So it has been nice to see that. Another moment for me as a Cavs fan was the Game 7 comeback versus the Magic. That was electrifying, fun game. A Donovan Mitchell masterclass while injured. It was awesome. Another moment as a Cavs fan was the Max Strus half-court game winner. That was wild. I think everyone can agree with that. That was absolutely crazy, especially as a Cavs fan. Another one of my more favorite moments was also the Thunder kind of coming into their own as a team and getting to see how Shea's really just kept developing as a player. He's one of my favorite players in the league. And seeing Chet Holmgren in action for the first time definitely, was fun to kind of follow them throughout the year. And Jalen Williams too, J-Dub's improvement was definitely fun, and that's a fun team. And probably the most funny moment of all year of the whole year was when Giannis absolutely lost his mind when he thought the Pacers took his ball just for him to be wrong and it not even be the ball. That was top tier comedy from Giannis, and yeah, it definitely gave us all a good laugh. But those are probably some of my. I'm probably leaving some things out, but those are some of my more memorable moments from the NBA season for me. You got any?
Giannis sprinting into the tunnel was so funny.
It has to be there.
Ugh. Yeah. A couple other things I really liked were Minnesota really putting together an outstanding season. I and a few others also really thought that this was going to happen last year. So I was really high on Minnesota. I was like, why can't they be the 1 seed? They're going to have an amazing defense. They have Rudy Gobert. And on offense, they're going to have Edwards and Towns. This should be an outstanding basketball team.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really high on them last year, and that didn't pan out. But this year it did. So it just seemed about 1 year jumping the gun.
It came down to Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
I think they were betting on that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And we were all like, "Oh, they're stupid, ha!" And then the next year it did happen. Okay, we see the vision.
Yeah. Yes, I could see the vision. So I'm happy that the vision came true, and this is actually a really good basketball team. Because I was so annoyed at all of the Rudy Gobert trade discourse. I swear, I will never forget the day I saw someone say, was it Leandro Balmero? I forgot the first guy's name. Starts with an L.
Leonardo Barbosa.
No, it's
Leonardo
Barbosa. Not him.
Okay.
Leandro Balmero. Yeah. They said Rudy Gobert got traded for essentially 7 first-round picks because it was like 5 first-rounders, and then they counted Walker Kessler as another first-round pick, and then they counted Leandro Balmero as another first-round pick. And I'm like, there's no shot. This guy sucks. He was, first off, he was the 23rd pick in the draft, and even then, he's a bust at the 23rd pick as well. The discourse around the Rudy Gobert thing was just awful.
I still think it was too much.
Do you want to? Yeah, sure, you can say that, but they acted like it was the worst trade in the history of ever. The Beal contract was so
there.
The Beal contract was absolutely the worst move of that offseason. Do you know what Balmero is averaging this year, points-wise?
Probably 0.3.
0.4.
I was close.
0.4 points per game. He's averaging more fouls than points.
That's actually impressive.
They counted that as a first-round pick, and that was just kind of just the discourse on that end. I was so sick of that, and I was so happy to see that team actually succeed.
It's narrative is so...
He gets disrespected
unfair.
So much.
It's so unfair because of some of the... I think a lot of it stems from the COVID thing and the fact that he's so decorated as a player, but yet,
no, it's just the fact that he's a big,
not
protecting defensive center. Yeah,
and that's really all.
He's not skilled.
Yeah,
the fact that he's not skilled.
But the COVID thing did not help. That just tanked it even worse.
True. Yeah, but everyone hated him before that anyhow. So
I don't know why he did the whole that thing was stupid, but
whatever. Anyhow,
kind of funny though.
Another thing I liked was the emergence of the Pacers offense. Again, I mentioned it before.
I knew this was going to be one of them.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah, I really like the schematic changes, the ideological
behind it.
Yeah, all that behind it. I'm a huge Mike D'Antoni guy, and the fact that they're taking his old offense, that 7 seconds one, plopping it into the new modern NBA, and it's still producing the second best offensive basketball with an offensive talent that's just overall not the greatest. You look at the roster, who's really a positive offensive piece? Halliburton, Yakumu came in mid-season, but they were already the second best at that point. And then it's
Mathurin.
Bruce Brown's not really Brown's not really an offensive player. Turner is good on offense, yeah. Neesmith is just okay. Neesmith is just kind of a spot-up guy for the most part. You do a little bit more than that, but not much. And then Buddy Hield, they got rid of mid-season. He wasn't even on the roster.
Offensive piece, but
yeah.
But yeah, they got to do it.
And then after that, it's Nembhard, who I guess also was one of my guys. Nembhard was one of my guys, sleeper picks. Who am I forgetting?
Mathurin, bro.
No, he sucks. Matherin's bad.
No.
Matherin is horrible.
No.
Matherin is not good.
He's good. No, he's not good, but he's going to be good. Let me rephrase that.
All right.
I believe.
Possibly.
Here's why I believe. Let me clear this up really quick. This has absolutely nothing to do with the level of player he is. I had his evolution card for the in-season tournament because the Pacers kept winning in 2K in my team, and he was an absolute dog for me. So he will always be my guy. Never played my team after it because that game is horrible, and it was extremely horrible this year, but Mathurin is my guy because of that. Let me make it clear.
All right. Well, I didn't play any of my team this year, so.
You didn't miss anything. Not a thing.
Yeah, that didn't sound like it. Yeah. Also, another really big thing I liked for a lot of the same reasons was the emergence of the Mavs in the second half of the season. After they traded for, PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford, for a couple of reasons. Number one, I really like both those guys. PJ Washington is one of my guys. I like him. But it's the dual helio offense. Obviously, everyone's heard of a heliocentric offense. The difference is when you add a second guy into it, it makes it so a lot of the gripes with a normal helio offense is it's on one player's shoulders, and then that player gets tired. And then the second thing is, what are you going to do when that player's off the court? Having a second guy solves both those issues. You kind of play your turn, my turn a little bit when they're both on the floor. That way, neither of them get tired, and then you can stagger the minutes to where there's always one on the floor. It's the exact style that the 2018 Rockets played, which are always going to be my favorite non-Cavaliers team.
One of my favorite teams too.
Yeah, those 2018 Rockets were incredible.
Dude, Gerald Green.
Oh yeah, Gerald Green. He was really cool.
Prime PJ Tucker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Prime Clint
Capella
too.
Yep. I loved that team. That team was awesome.
Trevor Ariza. Oh yeah, that was.
Dude, I forgot he still played back then. Trevor Ariza is so weird to me because I feel like he played like 15 years ago, but he really didn't.
Yeah, no,
I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's like Nicholas Batum. Like I feel like he played 10 years ago and he's literally still in the NBA.
Yeah. Anyhow, yeah, it's the same. It's kind of those reasons. I like watching those type of teams do well. So yeah, that's another really big thing I like was Dallas in the second half of the year. I don't have a whole lot of like really small moments. I guess one really small moment I liked was in the in-season tournament. I bet on the under on Julius Randle's points, which is like something I never do. I don't bet the unders in like hardly anything, and it was under like 19 points, under 18 points, something like that. And Randle took like 23, 24 shots and still didn't get enough points for it. So I was like, anytime he shot it and missed, I was like just laughing so hard. So that was like one of my top moments from the season.
You saying that made me remember actually I had the Pacers after the first play-in or in-season tournament game, like the first pool game or whatever, not the actual when the tournament started. The Pacers beat the Cavs actually, and I had like a bonus bet from DraftKings, and I actually put it on the Pacers to win the in-season tournament. And so every single game was so much fun to watch, and then my GOAT destroyed my dreams. But the fact that they made it all the way to the in-season tournament championship was awesome.
Yes. Also, my last thing that I liked, last favorite moment, are the compilations of LaMelo Ball pulling out of the Hornets arena. Ignoring every traffic light.
Dude, he's rough.
The guy is literally a child with millions of dollars. You cannot describe it any better than that. It's just like blowing through every traffic light, flying out of the lot, hardly even looking, running over a kid's foot and breaking it. That was a thing that happened.
He's wild.
And then 2 days ago, we got a video of him riding around in a go-kart on top of a roof somewhere in Charlotte.
What was he doing?
Yeah. just driving around.
Guy does everything but play basketball. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I hope he stays healthy though. It's fun to watch.
Nah, he'll get hurt from a car wreck. Like, not even joking. The Hornets as an organization need to do something about that to keep him on the court.
Agreed.
Yeah. He's
Well,
a maniac.
He's a maniac. I agree. But yeah, we
The
had
word
a
I was
little.
looking for is menace, but yeah.
He's also. Is he a menace? I don't know. I don't know if I'd
When
say
he's driving,
menace. I'd say he's just reckless in everything that he does.
Fair enough.
Oh well. It's just he's a ball. What can you say?
Yep.
I think that's all we got for today. I thought we had a good episode today. Technical difficulties in the middle kind of sucked, but other than that, it was good. New episode dropping Saturday. Thanks to anyone that watched. Make sure if you did watch, you enjoyed, leave us a review. It helps. Follow the podcast, download the podcast. It does help. Check out our TikTok, our X, and our Instagram. Our TikTok is the Friendly Banter Pod. Our Instagram is Friendly Banter 2. And our Instagram is the Friendly Banter Pod as well. Check them out. Give us a follow. I have a lot of short form content on there just to kind of break things up. If you miss an episode, you still get some content. And then check our YouTube out as well, the Friendly Banner Podcast. We might rebrand it into just the Friendly or just Friendly Banner, and then like actually make like just YouTube content. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's episode what? That's our 5th episode out the way.
Yeah, 5th one.
I feel like we're getting better at this.
Yeah.
Next episode will be dropping Saturday. Again, thank you to anyone that tuned in. That's it.